Hey y'all, what's up? What's up? We getting ready for my slot on the Don't Block Your Blessings Festival. And I'm so excited to be a part of it. And I just want to start off with a little tune. Just get us ready and inspired to learn a little bit about how not to block our blessings. So, hi Hashem, can we please have an awesome session tonight? And can you just help everything be so sweet? Can it be so sweet out of my mouth? Can it be so sweet for the people to receive it in their hearts? And please let it really echo in the universe. Yavo Shalom Aleinu, Yavo Shalom Aleinu, Yavo Shalom Aleinu ve'al kulam, Yavo Shalom Aleinu, Yavo Shalom Aleinu, Yavo Shalom Aleinu ve'al kulam, Salam Aleinu ve'al kol ha'olam, Salam, Salam. All right, just a little bit of intro. Wow, this is so special. So usually I get online and I teach my weekly Bible class and I'm so enthusiastic and I love it, but clearly that's not what's happening tonight. So what am I doing here online? Well, I will tell you. I am here tonight as a part of the Don't Block Your Blessings Festival. And the Don't Block Your Blessings Festival is a very precious, virtual, international festival. In fact, it's like pulling in like huge names. For example, like I'm a little intimidated to say this, but like next to me in the musician slot is Krishna Das. He's like world-renowned and unbelievable musician to touch the heart and soul. So this festival is a festival started by my friend Arezu, and when his mother passed away, he wanted to do something special, something meaningful to help bring more light and more blessing into the world. And so he came up with this idea called the Don't Block Your Blessings Festival. Last year at its inception, I think it had like 30,000 viewers, something unbelievable. And so I am really grateful for this opportunity to help bring more light into the world. If you are watching on Facebook right now, the festival recommends to switch over to the festival page, which I believe is don'tblockyourblessings.org/fest, but I also wrote it on the post. Because this way you can see all the different presenters and healers. So here's the thing, I'm listed as a healer. Now I'll tell you, I am in the healing profession and I work as a psychotherapist and I am a lover and teacher of spirituality and mysticism, but I actually do not call myself a healer. I believe that there is one healer, and that is God. Woo, go God. Yeah. And that those of us that work in the healing profession are channelers. We're conduits. We get to share the beautiful information we've learned. So I was like, well, as long as they've called me a healer, I may as well dress up and put some glittery stickers on my forehead, because doesn't that look totally cool and healery? So first of all, in terms of how not to block your blessings, I don't want to take myself too seriously, so I thought I'll just have fun with that tonight. Rad. Okay, so if you truly want to participate in this evening tonight, I really recommend that you pull up a pen and a paper, because after I get into explaining the topic I chose tonight, I want to invite you like a workshop to practically to do the work alongside of me, and that it shouldn't just be something that I present and that I hear and goes in one ear and out the next, but rather that it's something that you can take with you and that you can use as a tool for your own life. Rad. So, okay, the festival is called Don't Block Your Blessings. So there I am thinking about, all right, well, like, what do I really think blocks my blessings the most? So I was like, flip it and reverse it, right? And I thought, let me go back and think about what a blessing was. So, just gonna allow some viewership there. So I come from the background of Judaism and Jewish mysticism, and so many of the ideas I'm going to be sharing tonight come from the Jewish tradition. So what is a blessing? A blessing in Hebrew is the word bracha. Now, the word bracha shares the same root as the word brecha, and brecha means a pool. One of the interesting things that we learn about water, actually, according to the Bible, is that water was actually created before creation. In other words, water existed before anything. So it's as if to say that there is this like pool of infinite, unbounded blessings waiting to literally channel and funnel down to us from heaven if we are ready to receive it. And this, you can use this beautiful imagery almost as if there's like a pool of water, which is like, you know, water is growth, water is life, water is sustenance. And so if you could imagine as if for every single one of us that there's this infinite, unlimited pool of blessing that God is like so ready to shower down on us and like waterfall upon us, you know, just like you could imagine yourself in this like waterfall of blessing. But there's kind of a condition. There is a spiritual condition to receiving your blessings, right? Because the reason this festivals don't block your blessings is because there's so many things that unfortunately we've learned culturally that tonight, please God, we're going to unlearn, but that could, God forbid, block our blessings. And we want to clear those things out of the way so that we could receive anything. In fact, it says in the Art Scroll Chumash commentary that the amount that we believe that we can receive is the amount that we can receive. So let's figure out how to hack the spiritual system tonight. Let's do this, my people. That's what's up. Okay, fine. So first I'm going to bring you two commentaries on ways of receiving blessing, and then we're going to jump into the topic of the night. And the topic of the night is, well, I'll explain it in a moment, but how to actually stop judging other people. So put that on pause. Just going to revisit two ideas. The first idea comes from a rabbi, and his name was the Netivot Shalom. And I learned in his book that he says that all blessings, as we say, they flow down from this brecha, from the brachot, the blessings flow down from this heavenly brecha, this infinite source of blessing that's available for us, except for, much like, let's say your thing is to have a glass of wine at the end of the night, or perhaps a beer, right? So you can take this very fancy, beautiful, amazing bottle of wine or your favorite beer, and you can crack it open, or, you know, you crank it up, and there you are, ready to have this delicious glass of wine. Maybe it's with your, you know, maybe it's with your precious angel partner, maybe it's just with some friends, or, you know, and you're so excited to have this glass of wine, but there's one problem, and that you don't have a glass, or perhaps you have a glass, but the glass is broken. So there you are pouring this fancy, expensive bottle of wine, but the wine is actually pouring all over the floor, or it's getting everywhere. I mean, I'm all in white tonight. That would be a disaster. Hello. Like, oh my gosh, I'm like so from LA. That would be drama, right? Okay, so first of all, what we need in order to receive a blessing is, of course, the vessel. And the Netivot Shalom, the vessel, like in the wine case being the cup, the Netivot Shalom explains that the greatest blessing, the greatest kli the greatest kli is the Hebrew word for vessel. The greatest vessel with which to receive blessing is peace. And so if we want to receive blessings coming down from heaven here on earth, then we need the vessel called peace. And so if, God forbid, we're in a state where we're not feeling in peace, or where we're dealing with anger or frustration, that will be a problem, because that vessel to receive all the blessings is either gone or it's cracked. And if that vessel is cracked, then how can we receive the blessing? So as I'm thinking and I'm milling over in my head, what is it that I want to present upon? Well, first I know that whatever I want to present upon has to involve peace, because as the Nativot Shalom says, if we don't have the vessel of peace, the blessings just flow right through, right? And the second thing we need to receive our blessings is actually happiness, joy, simcha. Now here's the thing. Simcha, joy in Hebrew or in the Jewish tradition is not like you have to be like, ha, 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 ha. Everything is great, everything is wonderful. I'm feeling like I want to do a jumping jack. That would be a little exhausting if to reach a state of happiness we had to always be like bouncing around town. I mean, we'd kill our adrenal system with too much coffee just to get to the point of happiness. So it's not necessarily talking about like happiness like rah rah shish boom ba, but rather an internal happiness. And the reason that I bring this up is just to explain, because like we said, we want to find out how to receive these blessings. So we said one is the vessel of peace and the other is happiness or joy. But I'll explain why. Well, our sages explain that back in the day when there used to be prophecy, that a prophet could only receive prophecy when they were in a state of joy. Because what is prophecy? It's a connection to the divine. And if I'm in a state of joy, or even a more subtle joy, the best definition of happiness I ever heard actually is where you don't want to be anywhere else but where you are right now. So perhaps you could be just lying in your bed and feeling nothing, but you're really content to be there. Well, that is happiness. So this happiness, it enables us to be in connection and trust with God, because we trust that everything that happens is exactly as it is. And in that moment, if I am in that state of happiness or at least content, well, then I'm connecting to God. And if I'm connecting to God, or at least the spiritual realms, then I can receive prophecy, right? And if I am not in a state of content and I am rather in a state of worry or panic, fear, hysteria, well, then my connection to God is blocked, because how can I be connected where I don't trust, right? So for example, if you have a boyfriend or a girlfriend or a husband or a wife or whatever it is, and you're completely in trust with them, then it doesn't really matter what they're doing. You feel connected. They got your back, you got their back. There's connection, there's trust, there's happiness. And so too, the same thing with God. Right? We sometimes can use just human relationships to understand our relationship with God. And when we are in trust of God, when we're in connection, then we're happy, and then the blessings can flow. So here I am, and I'm thinking, okay, all right, Arezu, this festival's so awesome. How can I do you justice? And I thought, well, what has it been in my life, as a student of spirituality? And I mean, I have traveled all over the world, delving into different religions and different practices to try to figure out how to, receive this blessing and this heavenly waterfall pool flow from heaven. What was it that really, really altered my life? And I thought of something, and that was learning nonviolent communication. That's NVC. And what I learned from NVC was how to actually stop judging people. So I'm just going to explain a little bit more of what I mean by this. All right, I'm going to get comfy. Here we go. So here's the thing. As I was saying, as a person pursuing spirituality, I always thought like, okay, so I have to love everybody. Like, I love you, right? I love you. You're awesome. You're great. But then like year after year, I would fail, because there I am in like synagogue or like in meditation or in yoga, and out of the corner of my eye, I'm totally judging people. I'm making judgments about the way that girl looks, and I'm making judgments about the way that guy does yoga, and I'm making judgments about the way how the teacher presents, or I'm in the market and someone is like rude, and I'm like, you're rude, and I'm like, it was like a really big problem for me, because here I am teaching, I work in an institution, so I'm teaching hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of students how to be this like spiritual blissed out human, but at the same time I'm so busy judging everyone else. And in fact, my friend Hanoch just said that Mother Teresa quoted that when we judge, we don't have time to love. And that's true, and I knew it, but I didn't know how to stop judging. So I was like, okay,
let me use what I know. Let me be really super positive. And like anytime a judgment would come to my head, I try to be like, well, let's look at the bright side, but it wouldn't work. And I'd still be judging people. Then I tried this practice that I learned in Judaism, and the Hebrew for it is dan lekaf zchut, which means judge each other favorably. So there I was, and I'd have a judgment like, let's say, someone's being a really bad driver, someone cut me off in traffic, and I would try to use this technique called benefit of the doubt, right? And so there I am, like, it's okay, they're not a bad driver, they just must be on the way to the hospital because she's about to have a baby, you know, and I'm like trying to convince myself, and it's getting exhausting, you know, like, shoot, like the positivity, it wasn't working so much. The benefit of the doubt, it wasn't working so much. And then I tried to use understanding or patience, and none of it was working. And there I am continuing to judge people. Now, when your profession and your practice and your preaching is spirituality and loving each other, you know, the main concept in the Torah and the Bible is love your neighbor as yourself, you know, how could it be that I was still judging? And I couldn't figure it out until I did. And that's why I chose to present on this tonight, as we're going to spend the rest of this hour learning about. Now, I've presented on it a number of times because it is the number one thing that has changed my life in the last decade. And I will be so happy if I could say the same for you. So again, I invite you to get out that pen and paper because you're going to want to take some notes and also apply the teachings to your own life. Okay, so as I said, all of this comes out from nonviolent communication. And I learned this from a very precious neshama called Danny Cohen, and shout out to him because he was my teacher. And in Judaism, we have a belief that it's very important to quote your teachers, to give them credit so that, God forbid, it will never be like an ego thing. Like I'm presenting to you nonviolent communication as if like I have any credit to take for it. No. So I learned it from Danny Cohen, and he learned it from the system, which was developed by this precious man called Marshall Rosenberg. And I highly recommend, please look it up online, because I'm only going to give you the basics tonight. But the basics are rocking. So here we go. Okay. So what is it? What is judgment anyways? Now, the following definition is the very thing that changed my life. And Marshall Rosenberg quotes saying that judgment, and some of the other healers or healer people were discussing this in their sessions before, so I'm really glad we have synergy. But judgment, and write this down, is a tragic expression of an unmet need. I'm going to say that again. Judgment is a tragic expression of an unmet, and you can even add the word beautiful, need. What are you talking about, Nili? What are you saying judgment is a tragic expression of an unmet need? What are you saying? Like, what are you talking about? So, for example, one thing that I one thing that I loved is that Danny had mentioned that someone once got frustrated with him, and they said, "Oh, you're such an inefficient teacher," right? So, what does that indicate when I say that judgment is a tragic expression of an unmet need? Well, you can look at that sentence, "You're such an inefficient teacher," or "He's such a bad teacher," let's say, and think, wow, well, what is the unmet need? The person who said that must really have a need for learning. They really want to expand their mind and consciousness, and that's not happening for them. They must be experiencing a lot of frustration, and then they end up with the judgment, that person's a bad teacher. Or, for my absolute favorite example, most of my life I live in Jerusalem, and in Jerusalem we have this fantastic open market. It's called the Shuk, and on Fridays it's the busiest because everyone is preparing for the Sabbath. So, and the Israeli culture is like very like bold and like effervescent, and we kind of do what we want. We're a bold people, and so if you go to the market on a Friday, like there's pushing and it's packed, and it's like, it's not like, excuse me, 6 feet social distance. It's more like, get out of my way, you know. So sometimes you can go to the Shuk on a Friday, and someone might like just like kind of push you over, or like some old lady might like take her like wheelie cart that she's got all her vegetables in it and like roll over your foot, you know. And so it's very easy to just think like, gosh, she's so like, how annoying is she? Like, doesn't she see that I'm here? Do you hear the LA in my voice and the judgment? Like, oh my gosh, like how rude. But now, so maybe you haven't been shopping in the market in Jerusalem, but perhaps you've had your own experience where you just kind of laid out a nasty judgment for somebody, like rude, jerk, a-hole, she's so this, he's so that. Like, in fact, I invite you to think about someone in your life right now that you have a judgment against. Take a moment and just see with your meanest, lowest self. I know most healers don't encourage you to turn into your meanest, lowest self, but I'm going to today because I want us to get real, right? I don't want us to positivize anything or negativize, just real. All right, you take that one person in your life that's really driving you crazy. My sister, she's so bad. My brother, he's so bad. That person at work, my coworker, my boss is so bad. Okay, think about the nastiest term that you would use for them, because we're going to use that judgment to find out what your unmet need is. And you see, we're not trying to run away. We're not trying to run away from the judgment. We're not trying to run away from discomfort. We're not even looking for compromise. We're actually looking to listen in to find out what we are really needing. And when we do that, when we find out what we're really needing, what we have done then is effectively gone into connection with self. And when we go into connection with self, we go into empathy. And when we go into empathy, we're already in an empathetic place, and then our judgment starts to transform. So here's how we're going to do it. I invite you to think about a time that is very frustrating for you, situation that is like just drove you crazy, all right? And I'm going to take this same example of the person in the shuk, the open market, who is pushing me over with her cart and knocking me out. So I could look at her and say, oh, rude, annoying, so disrespectful, right? But if I say, wait a second, when I feel that woman's elbow poking into me, right? So I want you to take and say, when I notice, and then the observation of what happens, right? When my sister doesn't call me back, when my coworker calls me babe, when my spouse doesn't take out the trash, or whatever your example might be. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to tune into our feelings. I feel frustrated. I feel annoyed. Now, here's a tip. If you struggle with knowing what your feelings are, my greatest recommendation is simply to look up a feelings list online. And you can find any feelings list. All of them will assist you. This one is specifically from the Center of MVC, and it has pleasant feelings, and on the other side it has unpleasant feelings. So you just look up a list of feelings, and you could say, wow, I'm feeling aggravated, dismayed, disgruntled. I'm feeling panicked. I'm feeling hatred. I'm feeling horrified, startled, surprised, devastated. And just looking at a list of words can be extremely helpful for identifying our feelings, because the way that we're going to find our need is through our feelings, right? So there I am at the open market. I am feeling annoyed. I'm feeling dismayed. I'm feeling frustrated. And now, instead of jumping to judgment, we're going to jump to our need, because I'm really needing, and then I want to think about what I'm really needing. I want to be seen. In that moment, I want to be considered. And I think even more than that, at that market where that woman is bumping me to get what she wants and pushing me out of the way, I'm really wanting respect. And I'm really wanting space, that's for sure. And when I see what my needs are, then I can actually do something about it. When I don't see what my needs are, and I'm so busy projecting frustration and anger and judgments all over the other person, what do I feel? More frustration. I feel blame. I feel anger. And then I might find myself justifying that blame and anger and really working up a great scenario about why they suck and why this is the worst day ever and why God's out to get me. And I go into victim mentality. And the second I'm in victim mentality, well, firstly, I don't have that joy or that content that we were discussing at the beginning, and I certainly don't have the peace. And if the peace is the vessel to receive all of my blessings, well, then I have just blocked all those blessings with that judgment. So here's what you're going to do. And this might be backwards because I'm presenting from Facebook. But I trust your dyslexic abilities. When observation such and such happens, I feel, and then I want you to list a feeling that you feel or a few feelings, because I am really needing or wanting, and then a need. Now, what I also recommend, because it is not easy if you're not a psychotherapist and you didn't prepare this lecture, it's really kind of difficult to know what our needs are. So I also want to recommend that you really, really look up a list of needs. Here I have a needs inventory. And what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to read this list through, but I have a deal to make with you. I'm going to read you the needs inventory, and I want you to sit there, please, with your pen and with your paper, or just with your phone. You can type it out. And I want you to see which of these needs you identify with. So, of course, first and foremost, we need to get you back to that situation where you felt frustrated, annoyed, dismayed, or that judgment, right? Take anybody you love, someone in your family, someone at the office, one of your friends that's just been really annoying you lately, and you have judgments about, that's just because she's flaky, or that's just because he's so egotistic and arrogant, or he's so psycho, or whatever your judgment of any given person is, just put it down on the paper. Okay? Step 2. When I experience this judgment, I'm feeling, right? So if let's say I'm in interaction with a romantic interest and I really want them to call me more, and I'm feeling like I'm making this up, so that's why it's coming out funny, but I'm just trying to give you time to develop your scenario. And I feel like they're leading me on, let's say, like they messaged me and now they don't, right? They're just leading me on, like they're so obnoxious, let's say. Okay, this is not a real life situation. So then I go to my feelings and I see that perhaps I'm feeling lonely, or perhaps I'm feeling beat or exhausted. And here's the crux. Here's where we really want to get to. What am I needing? Okay, so please, I'm going to slowly read you this list of human needs. And I also want to throw in a caveat. We all have needs. And needs are actually really beautiful. They tell us how to take care of ourselves. So if anyone is feeling like, oh my gosh, but that's going to mean I'm needy, well, welcome to the club. I can tell you, thank you Hashem, thank you God, I have so many friends and so much love, and quite well liked, I could even say. But I also feel lonely or disconnected, or like I'm wanting attention, or like I want to be seen or understood. So it doesn't really matter how well you have it in life, or how well liked or wanted or loved you are. All of us have needs. And that's more than okay. It's necessary. It's part of the human condition, okay? So you're not alone. People are sending beautiful examples through the chats, and I really, really appreciate that. So let's go to see what you're needing, okay? And it's going to lead us to some beautiful self-knowledge, and then hopefully to more peace and content. Okay, so when I list off this list of needs, please write down, jot down any of them that you might be needing, either in the specific situation that we're working on or in general in life. Okay, so the first headline is the need for connection. Does anyone else relate? I totally relate. Oh my gosh. It's like, yeah, I won't get into personal stories, but I totally have a need for connection. And within the need for connection is the need for acceptance, the need for affection, the need for appreciation, the need for belonging. A most beautiful quote I heard on belonging from Brené Brown is, belonging is the opposite of fitting in. I thought that was really cool. Take that one for the road. The need for cooperation, the need for communication, the need for closeness, the need for community, the need for companionship, the need for compassion, the need for consideration, the need for consistency, the need for empathy, the need for inclusion, the need for intimacy, the need for love, the need for mutuality, the need for nurturing, the need for respect or self-respect, the need for safety, the need for security, the need for stability, the need for support, the need to know and be known, the need to see and be seen, the need to understand and to be understood, the need for trust, the need for warmth. And those all fall under the category of the need for connection. And for me, just hearing this list is extremely therapeutic because I personally need all of these. And thank God I'm not so ashamed of that anymore. But for a lot of us, being needy is something we've looked down upon or we've run away from. Here in this practice of undoing judgments, we actually want to run towards our needs. So we're going to keep going. We have physical needs as well, and those are super important because all of us know about the joking term hangry, right? I'm so hungry that I can't even deal, and instead of treating the people around me with kindness, I'm like, he's annoying, get out of my way, she's rude, she doesn't understand me, and really it's just like, oh my God, I need to eat something, you know? So here are some physical needs for our well-being that are just as honorable. The need for air, the need for food, it's real. You're not alone. The need for movement and exercise, the need for rest and sleep, the need for sexual expression, the need for safety, the need for shelter, the need for touch, the need for water. Under the next heading of needs, we have the category of honesty. The need for authenticity. You know, a lot of us feel that when we're frustrated with somebody or a situation, we don't know what the frustration is, and we just come to realize, like, oh my God, I just want someone to be honest. I'm really wanting honesty. I'm needing authenticity, right? Growing up here in LA, I was so frustrated oftentimes by people that I felt were fake, right? So I'm just busy judging them and thinking like, oh my God, they're so fake. Like, they're like so fake. But there I am in judgment, and I don't even know what I'm needing. And I could say, wow, when I see that person telling me they want to hang out and never calling me, I feel frustrated because I'm really needing authenticity, right? The need for integrity, the need for presence. Under the category of the need of play, because let's face it, we're all just children in bigger bodies, we have a need for play, a need for joy, and a need for humor. So perhaps someone in your office is like kind of down a lot of the time and you have to deal with them, and it's like you're just like, they're just like so depressed, they're just like so like whatever the judgment is, and really it's like, well, I'm needing joy and I'm needing play, therefore I get triggered, and instead of going to my needs, I'm going to judgment. But tonight, please God, will fix that up. The need for humor. These are real human needs. I'm going to interrupt the needs list just to share a beautiful commentary. So I told you I work as a psychotherapist, which is just an awesome job because you help people get to unpack and explore themselves. And I had one client come to me and say, oh my God, Nili, oh my God, I've done some research and it seems I have HSP. So HSP is sort of a new diagnosis, and I'm not so into diagnoses, but okay, I'll honor her fear. And HSP means a highly sensitive person. And when someone discovers that they're a highly sensitive person, this could be intimidating, or perhaps it's also validating because they never knew why like bright lights bothered them or so much stimulation. They thought they were just an introvert, but now they realize they're an HSP. And this person came to me also with the presence of panic. And they said, so what do I do? What do I do? What do I do? And thank you, Hashem gave me like the best download to channel, which is like, I don't know, I think it's brilliant. I just shared with this client, like, okay, so we'll just honor and respect every one of your needs, every one of your highly sensitive needs. We're just going to honor and respect them. And she's like, really? I'm like, yeah, really. I think that's what we're being called upon to do. So maybe you or I don't have the label HSP, but all of us have needs to respect. And anytime there's any sort of frustration or aggravation or depression, And actually, I think one of the presenters presented on this earlier. It's really a calling to go to self-connection and self-empathy and see exactly what I'm needing. So let's find out some more about some of these needs. And again, please write down any of them that touch your heart, because if they touch your heart, it is a calling. Okay, the need for peace, the need for beauty, the need for communion, the need for ease. This is a big one for me. A lot of times when I'm dealing with a frustrating situation and I check in to see what I'm feeling and then I check in to see what I'm needing, a lot of times it comes down to the need for ease, the need for equality, the need for harmony, the need for inspiration, and the need for order, right? Some of us might live with a partner who's so messy, and we've spent our whole lives telling that partner or that child or that parent, you're such a mess, you're so disgusting, you're so dirty. Well, judgment, judgment, judgment leads to anger, frustration, anger, frustration. All of a sudden, there's no vessel for blessing. There's no joy. There's no peace. And we're wondering what the heck is going on. Why have I blocked all my blessings? Because I am so busy being angry and upset about the person in my house who's messy. When really I can break it down. Well, this is so frustrating because I really need order. And in that moment, I have owned my needs and I have a new pathway to return to new solutions, new strategies, and peace. And then blessings. Ta-ding! The need for equality, the need for harmony. Oh, I read all those. Okay. The next heading is the need for autonomy. All right. So here we go. Within these needs, and for anyone who just joined now, we're doing an exploration of our human needs, our very human needs that we all experience, that we all have. And we're discussing this as a way to start to actually stop judging others, right? Because we expressed that judgment is a tragic expression of an unmet need. So we're looking at what our needs could be so that we could be more in tune with ourselves, more compassionate and empathetic towards others, and have more blessings, please God. So within the need for autonomy is the need for choice, right? Some people, when they feel forced, or when there's like a highly pressured situation, they get so frustrated and they feel so much hatred towards the other person. Pause. I am really needing choice. The need for freedom, the need for independence, the need for space. That's a big one. The need for spontaneity. Who knew that was even a need? Okay, and the final category of needs is meaning. The need for meaning in our life. You might have found yourself in a group of friends that you might judge as shallow, right? But like, that's a judgment. That's just me looking down on other people. And if I'm looking down on other people, I'm probably in some form of condescension. And if I'm practicing condescension, I certainly don't have peace and I certainly don't have happiness. And then again, I've blocked my own blessings. So meaning, right? We don't want to say that group of friends is shallow. We might want to say, wow, I'm feeling, well, let's get a new feeling in here. I am feeling really alienated and aloof and alone. And it's not because they're shallow. That's the judgment. What's the need? I'm really needing meaning. The need for awareness. The need for celebration of life. The need for challenge. The need for clarity. The need for competence. The need for consciousness. The need for contribution. The need for creativity. The need for discovery. The need for efficacy. The need for effectiveness. The need for growth, the need for hope, the need for learning, the need for mourning, the need of participation, the need of purpose, the need of self-expression, the need of stimulation, the need to matter, and the need for understanding. So I wonder, while you're doing this exercise, where you've taken a situation that is mighty annoying to you, or you have this crazy judgment about this person, and now we want to pause and see if you can take this judgment, this tragic expression of an unmet need, and find the unmet need. Once you find that unmet need, oh yeah, we're doing MVC here. Once you find that unmet need, what I personally do, and I would like to recommend, because I believe that we could all use a little more empathy, is I actually take my hands and I put them in my shirt, on my chest, skin to skin, and I hold my heart. Say, wow, Nili, I would like to try to think of an active situation where I was judging somebody so that I could give you a true example. Oh yes, I was driving a judging a driver the other day. This guy wouldn't let me in, and then as he passed me, he flicked me off. It was like screaming obscenities. Now, because I'm like oh so spiritual, I as if laughed it off, like oh that guy must have anger issues, and I didn't let it affect me. But how condescending could I be? Do I really think I'm going to receive blessings from heaven when I'm busy looking down on another one of God's creatures, another one of God's kids, my very sibling of humanity? No way. So let's see. So I would say, all right, that guy's he's got anger issues would be the judgment. Okay, so now I want to do the practice. Okay, so when that man flicked me off in traffic, so that's an observation. I'm not judging him. He really flicked me off, right? When that man flicked me off, I felt. Now I'm going to go to my feeling sheet, because even as a practice psychotherapist, we really need help. We have not been trained to identify our feelings, right? I felt, okay, I'm just going to take my time and figure this out. I felt flustered, and I felt angry, and I felt cranky, because what I'm really needing and wanting is peace, understanding, calm. I really wanted calm that day. And I really wanted respect. I really want respect in the world, actually. So when that man flicked me off, at first I judged him as like less than, or just like an angry person. But really, because I have this tremendous need for respect in the world, I could put my hands on my chest and be like, wow, Nili, you really want respect. And even more than that, I wanted to be seen. I was actually having a really hard day. A family member was in the hospital. I was running around doing errands and favors for everybody else and really busy taking care of other people. And I really wanted to be seen. I wanted to be seen, like, hey, like, not that I could communicate this with the guy in the car flicking me off next to me, but really it's all about us relating to ourselves. And I really wanted to be seen. I really wanted understanding that, like, I'm going through a hard time, and I wanted appreciation. And the moment that I do that, then I'm in touch with myself. And then it stops being so much about the other person. And then all that anger and frustration calms down, and I know where I can go. Now, later in the process of learning NVC, or learning how to undo judgments, we can figure out how to request and ask things that we want in order to get our needs met. But that's secondary, and if you have found this lecture interesting so far, I really invite you to go seek out your own course in NVC. They happen all over the world, and I just really recommend it. But if you're not going to take this another step and you just want to sit with it, think of how beautiful life would be if all of a sudden I did not have a need to insult other people, to look down on them. And then, and it goes further, because let's say now your friend's in the car and you're like, he's such an a-hole. And they're like, yeah, he's an a-hole. And we think that we're a good friend when we encourage the frustration of the people around us, but it's not true. Nobody wants more frustration. We all want more calm and more ease and more understanding and more love. So when I can put my hand on my heart and just be like, wow, Nili, you are really wanting to be seen. You are really wanting appreciation. I didn't even know I was wanting appreciation until this very moment, right? Until this moment when I'm presenting to you, I didn't know that there I was in the car wanting appreciation. But now that I know that, I can either communicate that need, I can decide to tell the people around me that I want to be seen, I can share with a friend that I'm really wanting appreciation, but I have where to go with it. And once I do that, I've already invited more blessings into my life. Because one of the greatest blessings we can have is empathy, compassion. So the second I've already just gone through this short, tiny process where I check out an observation, see what I'm feeling, and determine my own need, I'm already in connection with myself. Then I'm in connection with my soul. Then I'm in connection with God. Then I can arrive at greater trust.
then I can arrive at greater content and greater peace. And then those blessings can just flow on down. So yeah, judgments are a tragic expression of an unmet need. And like we said, just to review, we're not trying to run away from judgment, we're trying to unpack it. And I ask you, now that you've done this exercise, and maybe you can just write it down because we're not actually in active communication, what shifts for you when you connect to the need? I find, and I also learned this in the course that I took when I studied NVC, that knowing my needs, it becomes my power. I become empowered. I could take care of myself. Then I am putting myself in a place of responsibility and empowerment. And like we said, we're moving away from blame and victim mentality. And when I'm in this place now of silence, of unpacking the judgment rather, and moving into empathy, well, what does empathy do for us? It allows us to live in the fullness of being human. That's so beautiful. You know, a lot of us feel shame, again, as we said, around feeling needy or needing something that I don't have, or we might feel shame about wanting attention or to be seen or to feel beautiful, but like, we all have these needs. Like, nobody is left out here. And if that's true, then all it does is make us more human. And do you know what making ourselves more human does? It opens the possibility for connection to others, right? When I tell you that I have a need for, I have a need for intimacy and closeness, that's real. It doesn't mean I'm desperate or I, don't have a partner or nobody likes me. It's just like, yeah, of course I'd love closeness and connection right now. And if that's true for me, I bet you it's true for you too, So I just really love stepping into that humanness, because then we have another effect, which is that when I can hold on to my needs and acknowledge them, have the bravery, the vulnerability to even acknowledge my own needs, to be willing to take that moment to go to self-connect, well, I've opened up a space for other people to stop judging me as well, and to say rather what they're needing. So I'll give you another personal example. So as I mentioned, I'm a therapist and a teacher. And so when I teach, some members of my family might watch one of the classes that I gave over, and they might say something like, oh, well, they might offer a criticism, right? And I might look at them and be like, oh, you're so critical, right? But then I think, okay, judgment is a tragic expression of an unmet need. I'm feeling sad because I really wanted support. And I really wanted, now I'm going to the needs page because I can't even figure it out myself. And I'm really wanting, again, look, I guess it's appreciation. I didn't even know how much I needed appreciation. I want support and appreciation. I want to be seen. And so the second I can say that, then they can figure out what they need, right? They're needing, let's see, I'm figuring it out with you in the moment. Maybe they are needing acceptance, and they feel that if a member of their family is giving over a class in a way they don't like it, they might not be accepted. So it's really, really beautiful when we connect to our own needs, because it also gives other people permission to connect to their own needs. And once I'm communicating my needs and you're communicating your needs, then we're actually in communication. Then we're actually listening. Then we're actually in connection. Now, what happens when we're in judgment? When we're in judgment, we're actually doing the opposite. We've broken the connection. We've decided that we know what another person is about. We've labeled them. We've created distance, which is actually the thing we probably want least in this world. In fact, I learned from a teacher of mine, Prolopian, that she believes that anger is really just about the fact that we're not connected. Because
in the heavenly realms or in the true spiritual realms, if we didn't have these physical bodies and walls blocking us from each other, the truth is that we are all one. And the truth is that we really get angry when we're disconnected. So using NVC, nonviolent communication, to understand what we're experiencing, to see what we're feeling, to see what needs those feelings connect to then connect to self and connect to others, we're going to have even greater bliss and even greater peace. And like we said at the beginning, the vessel for blessings is peace. Yeah, so I really appreciate the opportunity to share this with you, because just learning this one little practice truly, truly changed my entire life. And it's just been one of the biggest blessings in my life. So then I wanted to take that blessing in my life and share that blessing with you as well. I just want to check through my notes to see if there's anything that I missed, because I'd really like to make sure that I give also a punch. How do you say that? Packed? How do you say that? I don't speak English anymore. I wanted to make sure to give you a really meaningful teaching that you could use and apply to your lives. Yeah, okay, so there's like a final level of this. And this really requires us to be very big people, but it's really precious and meaningful, which is that once I arrive at the point where I've discovered what my unmet needs are, what I can do at that point is I could see those needs are beautiful. Right? So if I'm really wanting connection, or if I'm really wanting food, like, that's beautiful. I need to feed my body, right? If I'm really needing physical exercise, those are beautiful human needs. Well, then what I can start to do is look at the person that I've judged or that I'm feeling negative feelings about, and I can actually try to uncover what's beautiful about their needs. Let's go back to that example in the market in Jerusalem. That woman was probably really needing, going back to my needs sheet, because again, don't imagine that we could do this on our own. We have to seek help, right? Like, again, I've been doing this for like 10, 20 years, and like, I still need to go to my needs sheet to figure out what that woman must have been needing. So let's see, let's think about this together. What do you guys think she was needing, right? So she's pushing me out of the way, and she is, like, not paying any attention to me, and there I am judging her as rude. And I see my need for space and to be seen and to have respect as beautiful, but what about her needs? So maybe, I'm just doing this live with you, maybe she was needing, let's see. Maybe she was needing ease, and maybe her family was really waiting for her to deliver their meal at home, and she really needed these groceries because she also wanted to feel appreciated, and she knew that if she got home in a certain amount of time, and then maybe then she would have happiness because her family would be happy, and maybe she's really needing happiness. And maybe it's not true, and maybe I'll never figure out what the people's needs around me are. But what it does do is it puts me into a greater space of love and, like we said, peace, and just seeking to understand, which is a lot better than like smacking ugly labels on people, I think. So yeah, I want to end with a blessing. The reason I started with the song Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu, let there be peace upon us, is because really that's my blessing for all of us, that God should just rain down. Remember, we said that a blessing in the Hebrew is bracha, and a bracha comes from the Hebrew word brecha, which is a pool, and that literally, as we understand, God is the one that loves us the most and wants the most blessings in our lives for us. So I just give us a blessing that anytime we feel judgment coming up, that we remember this phrase that judgment is a tragic expression of an unmet need, and that we see what we're feeling, and then we see what we're needing. We go to self-connect and self-empathy and just unpack all of that for greater bliss and greater connection, and to receive the like endless, infinite pool of blessings that's like literally waiting to like peacefully, sweetly waterfall down upon us in our lives and the lives of everybody we love. So I also just want to give a blessing that all of the light that is coming down from all of these teachings and these beautiful healers and musicians should really be in the merit of Arezu's mom, that her soul should go higher and higher, and she should be delighting in the beautiful symphonies of heaven, and also what she sees here below, which is thousands of people just trying to bring more light and more love and more blessings into the world and into our lives. So thank you again so much for watching. Feel free to tune in any other week to learn more about the secrets of the different parts of the Bible. And thank you. What a blessing to be able to share my blessings. God bless.